Graham Linehan, well-known comedian and creator of Father Ted, has been under scrutiny for a long time. The latest scrutiny he is facing is being arrested for 3 tweets that he made back in April. Yes, April. I cannot believe that I am about to cover this story. Hello and welcome back to Chat About It, Don't Shout About It with me, Rachel, the Queen of the Woke, as crowned by one of my haters.
I crown you Queen of the Woke!
Let's chat about it. Please do keep it friendly in the chat, and please do let me know what you think about the attack on free speech here in the UK, or as we call it, freedom of expression, which is slightly different compared to America, but no matter what way you look at it, it is still an attack on our speech. I know that this happened over a week ago. I did make a post about it on my post page, so please do feel free to check that out as well, as I was unable to make a video on it at the time. However, now is the time for me to make a video because there has been some developments since the initial thing happened. I am able to comment on this right now because he's not yet been charged and he's not facing a trial currently, so I won't be risking contempt of court as far as I know I won't be. However, if he does get charged, then I won't be able to comment on proceedings. So now is the time. Graham was returning home from a trip from Arizona, and he was greeted, according to him, by 5 armed police at Heathrow Airport. Although I have reasons to believe that there is some substantial truth behind that. I'm on Substack and I'm subscribed to Graham's Substack as well. So when I saw this particular piece of news, I was incredibly shocked. I've got clips from that Substack, but I will make sure that I do link it below for you so that you can go and read the entire thing for yourself. This is what he says. I just got arrested again. I arrived back in London to discover the UK is still a police state run by trans activists. Something odd happened before I even boarded the flight in Arizona. When I handed over my passport at the gate, the official told me I didn't have a seat and I had to be reticketed. At the time, I thought it was just the sort of innocent snafu that makes air travel such a joy, but in hindsight, it was clear that I'd been flagged. Someone, somewhere, probably wearing unconvincing makeup and his sister, wife's mum's underwear, had made a phone call. The moment I stepped off the plane at Heathrow, 5 armed police officers were waiting, not 1, not 2, 5. They escorted me to a private area and told me I was under arrest for 3 tweets. In a country where PDF files escape sentencing, where knife crime is out of control, where women are assaulted and harassed every time they gather to speak, the state had mobilized 5 armed officers to arrest a comedy writer for this tweet. And no, I promise you, I am not making this up. So this is completely insane. What has the country come to if you are sending armed police to meet a man at the airport for a series of tweets? That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous enough that we get charged with tweets and what we say online anyway without the armed police even being involved. And he's just come off a really long haul flight. He is exhausted. What kind of issue is he going to create exactly that would result in him being a target from armed police? The fact that there's also 5, why do you need so many police? Surely they've got something else, better to do than go and arrest someone for tweets online. That's what you think. But this is the UK. And, well, look what's happening. These are the tweets that he's been arrested for. I can't believe this. So he said back in April, a photo you can smell. And this is a group of trans activists that he is referring to here. Then there's this one. I hate them. Misogynists and homophobes. F them. Right? So, oh my goodness. Those tweets are so extreme. They are so extreme that they warrant a police arrest. I'm wondering if there will be something behind this that might be very difficult to prove here. Okay? But it's my belief that perhaps the police would be more interested in the next one. This is what he said. If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act, make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. I believe that this would be the one that the police would want to look into the most. which is absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, he does go on to say this. Later during the interview, the tone shift, the officer conducting it asked about each of the terrible tweets in turn with the sort of earnest intensity usually reserved for discussing something serious like, oh, I don't know, crime. I explained that the punch tweet was a serious point made with a joke. Men who enter women's spaces are abusers, and they need to be challenged every time. The punch in the balls bit was about the height difference between men and women, the balls being closer to punch level for a woman defending her rights, and certainly not a call to violence. Not one of my best, as one of the female officers said, we are not that small, right? Okay, so he makes it a joke and then he has to justify that joke, which we quite often see a lot of comedians having to do nowadays. They get cancelled over jokes. He has to explain it to the police. Make that make sense. Oh my goodness. Anyway, he mentioned trans people. I asked him what he meant by the phrase. People who feel their gender is different than what they were assigned at birth. I said, assigned at birth, our sex isn't assigned. He called it semantics. It's biology. Anyway, I told him he was using activist language. The damage Stonewall has done to the UK police force would take years to mend. Eventually, a nurse came to check on me and found my blood pressure was over 200 stroke territory. The stress of being arrested for jokes was literally threatening my life, so I was escorted to A&E, where I write this now after spending about 8 hours under observation. That's crazy. It stresses him out so much he ends up getting sick. Surely that in itself would be grounds for an investigation into what the police are doing or looking at what these countries' laws are doing to people. But that's unlikely to happen because the Online Safety Act is creating a lot of issues, but they don't care. And that's what it was introduced for children. But now it seems to affect anybody and everybody. I think all we have to do is sniff online and we'd get into trouble these days. We'd be arrested. Now, he does make it perfectly clear in this article, and I think this is fair enough, that he believes that in this case, it is the police doing their jobs. If it were 5 police, I think that's more than just a little bit excessive, and I still think it's excessive anyway to arrest someone for tweets online. But I just want to point out that he does make that perfectly clear. He believes that the police were doing their job. The police themselves, for the most part, were consistently decent throughout with this farce. Some were even Father Ted fans. Thank God the Catholic Church never had with the police the special relationship granted to trans activists. The male officers were mostly polite but clearly nonplussed by the politics of it all, just doing their jobs, however insane those jobs had become. The female officers seemed more tuned into what was actually happening, and I think that might just be a nature versus nurture aspect there. One mentioned the Sandy Peggy case in a certain way, and I realized I was among friends even if they couldn't admit it. And they wouldn't be allowed to admit it. It would be against their job. However, this article and everything that's happened to Graham sounds completely absurd. I cannot believe this is happening, but the bail conditions were really the icing on the cake. The Americans who watch this channel, you're going to be extremely shocked by this part because this is most likely 100% true. It's insane, but I can't believe it, but I have to believe it. I looked at the single bail condition. I am not to go on Twitter. X, yes. That's it. No threats, no speeches about the seriousness of my crimes, just a legal gag order designed to shut me up while I'm in the UK, and a demand I face a further interview in October. Yeah, his bail condition, his one bail condition was that he was no longer allowed to tweet on X. In other words, shut your cake hole, don't talk about it, don't say this, don't say that, watch your step, down with this sort of thing, careful now. The irony, the sheer irony, that was ridiculous. But then I saw this one tweet online that was, in my opinion, maybe a weak as water attempt to get Graham arrested for breaking bail conditions. I hadn't personally seen him on X tweeting, but apparently, according to this tweet, he did. Linehan broke his bail conditions on his main account, and is possible he was also tweeting more abusively on an alternate account. He lasted a day before his breach. Clearly, this is not a man who can be trusted to abide by the law. And then there's a photograph, a screenshot in this case, of supposedly Graham saying, "Daw, mate." Okay, he allegedly said that here. I can say that I don't think I've ever seen him tweet like that. So there's a very strong possibility that this was made up, or a parody account, or a clone account, or something like that. However, there is a very big silver lining, though, because him not being allowed to tweet on X as part of a ridiculous bail condition was insane. And it just goes back in this person's face, because really, you shouldn't be allowed to silence people. Get this. Let's take a look. Graham Linehan tweets on the 7th of September 2025 with a GIF or a GIF, depending on what you refer to it as, with "I'm back." And he says, "Thanks to my solicitors and the speech union for getting my absurd bail conditions dropped." Yep, that's right. His solicitors and the speech unions believed that this was absolutely redonkulous. So they fought tooth and nail in order to get that bail condition dropped, and it has now. So he still is most likely going to be interviewed in October, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. But the absurdity of all this is just insane. The attack on free speech in this country with the freedom of expression is getting out of control. It's been like this for more than just a while now, and it's most likely going to continue. Well, anyway, that's what I think. Let me know what you think. Please do feel free to check out some of the other content that I have picked out for you. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye bye. Thank you for watching today. Don't forget you can join me on my other platforms as well. I've got YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, X, TikTok, Instagram, Locals, Substack, and I also have a Discord. Everything is linked below.